There's a few things that have happened this week which I want to highlight in relation to this whole AI agenda that is unfolding so quickly. And the nearer they get to their goal of AI human fusion and total AI digital control, the more they are confirming what I've been saying over the decades now, that the human body is a biological computer and it's basically a software program, a very advanced one, yes, but it's a software program. And it is him again. Elon Musk has been comparing the body to software that can be hacked to cure diseases. The future of medicine will be digital, he said. This was part of what he was talking about, and then I'll put this into context.
Probably a lot of opportunity in synthetic medicine. So with like these days, you can basically create custom, RNA. And I think like the sort of we're going from a situation where medicine has been analog, where we kind of like just find drugs kind of by accident most of the time. Like finding sticks in the forest that, seem like this stick seems like a useful club type of thing. It's quite primitive how we found medication in the past. Now, but once you can, and since we can now construct synthetic RNA, you can effectively think of medicine, the future of medicine, as being digital. So it's, if you just know what to program into that synthetic RNA strand, you can basically, I think, cure almost anything.
We now have confirmation that our phones are actually listening to us at all times.
And in every case that I'm aware of, these companies have eventually turned over the recordings.
And this researcher has proven that our phones are even uploading data about us even when our phones are off.
Everything you do on an unsecured network is at risk. Your passwords, credit card info, and even sensitive work documents could be exposed to prying eyes. Now more than ever, is it important to protect your data online? Think about public Wi-Fi. You're at a cafe or in an airport or even at the gym, and you're connecting to free Wi-Fi without a second thought. That free Wi-Fi is often a hacker's playground. With just a few clicks, someone can intercept your connection, steal your information, and even track your browsing habits. That's where private internet access, or PIA, comes in. With private internet access, you can safeguard all your online activities with military-grade encryption, protecting you from hackers, governments, and even your internet provider. Plus, they have a strict no-logs policy, which means they don't track or store any of your browsing history, so your privacy stays private. One click and you're protected. No complicated setup required. That's why we use private internet access. Get 83% off and 4 months free using our link for a limited time. You can click the link in the description to try it out today.
So the body is software, they're now starting to admit. Well, yes, it is, because we live in a simulated reality. And this reality is an information field and fields of information. On one level, it's frequency information, just like Wi-Fi. And then on another level, it's code, just like a virtual reality game. And just as a computer interacts with Wi-Fi and puts the Wi-Fi information on the screen in a totally different form to the one or the way it appears in the Wi-Fi field. So we, through the body, which is a software program, interact with the matrix field and decode the information at the frequency digital code level into the reality that we think we're experiencing, that appears to be external to us, but is actually going on in here, just as the decoding of Wi-Fi into what we see on the screen is done inside the computer. And imagine if you know all this, as these guys do, but you're keeping that from the general population that think they're living in a solid world. Immediately, the dynamic of control becomes absolutely enormous, purely on the basis, without everything else, of the fact that you know what reality is and your target population does not. And the body is not just encoded with physical traits, like, the body is constantly responding to environmental changes. You go into a hot room, it will respond. You go into a cold room, it will respond. It's tweaking all the time and responding to changes in the environment and emotional changes, mental changes, whatever, because it's a software program. That's what it's designed to do. But this is the key that they don't want you to know. There's also psychological programs, perceptual programs running through the body. The reptilian brain here, for instance, is where we get the response of fight or flight. When in the face of danger, we either freeze or run. It's the reptilian brain that is constantly scanning the environment for threats to survival of all kinds, not just physical survival, but survival of relationships and jobs and paying the rent at the end of the month. And so that's just one example of the way the psychological programs are running through the body and their psychological responses. One of the interesting things before they started banning me from country after country is when I traveled around the world extensively after 1990, I would go into different parts of the world with different cultures, different religious beliefs, dominant religious beliefs, and different races, whatever. But when it came down to key responses, they were basically the same. Why? Because the idea is that consciousness, the real you, the true I, enters the body for this experience, but the body program dictates perception and can be hacked into to manipulate perception once you get here. And the idea is that the body program totally dominates your perception of reality and how you see things, how you respond to things. Because what they want to do is separate the perceptions of consciousness, the true I, from the perceptions of the body program. They want to separate the two. And when you go through this process of awakening awakening, what is that? It's tapping into consciousness beyond the body-mind program. And thus you start to see everything differently, which you didn't before. This is what awakening is. It's awakening to consciousness as opposed to being dominated in your perceptions by the body program. And what's happening now with this whole AI thing, which is what they absolutely don't want you to know, is they are making that separation of body program from consciousness technological. It's why they want nanotech in the body, as with the COVID fake vaccine, and through other means, so that we start to interact. Many of them are openly saying it, but giving it a spin of, oh, it will be great, connecting the human body and the human brain to artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence becomes the human mind, which then will not consider things like awakening and questions like, who am I? Where am I? What's going on? And so that's the background to what's happening. And, you know, there are endless ways now that they are trying to, if you like, bioengineer the body program. And one of them is food. I saw this little clip, this little video this week, in which a woman had gone into an oldie store and went around looking for all the products, the food that was bioengineered. She did find a few, not surprisingly.
And almost everything they have contains bioengineered food ingredients.
So it's coming at us from all angles because it is globally coordinated. And some of these people won't know that. They'll just, think they can make a few quid doing this, that, or the other. But the inner core know exactly where this is heading. And it's what I'm exposing in every way I can. Now, what they want you to believe is that humans can never be smarter than AI. AI, really smart. But what they're doing is they want you to compare the body program, which is suppressed and manipulated awareness, to compare that with AI. So what they're doing is they want you to compare two things that aren't the real you. And what they don't want you to do is realize that you, all of us, have the gift of consciousness if we choose to take it beyond the program. And as a result of that, the totality of the human consciousness potential, the infinite consciousness potential, makes AI look like the bloody Stone Age. But they don't want you to see that. They want you to compare the body program suppressed human with AI. And then they can say it's so much smarter than we are. And I'll give you an example. This is the OpenAI CEO, Sam Altman.
A kid born today will never be smarter than AI, ever. And a kid born today, by the time that kid kind of understands the way the world works, will just always be used to an incredibly fast rate of things improving and discovering new science. They will never know any other world. It will seem totally natural. It will seem unthinkable and Stone Age-like that we used to use computers or phones or any kind of technology that was not way smarter than we were. We will think how bad those people of the 2020s had it.
You see, what he's doing there is comparing the body program human with AI. And, it's so important that we realize that these people like Altman are not super bright. I mean, have you ever heard Elon Musk interviewed? Or Peter Thiel? They can't put sentences together that make any bloody sense. Oh, they're geniuses. No, they're front people. To front up what the real deal is going on in the background. What the theme is now beginning to become apparent and emerging is that they want you to pay for your own prison. And more than that, this is Sam Altman again, and he's talking here about the fact that they want to take the totality of human intelligence, which has been put together and emerged over the generations and generations and generations. They want to take all that and they want to sell it back to you. I kid you not.
Our business, and I think the business of every other model provider, is going to look like selling tokens. They may come from bigger or smaller models, which makes them more or less expensive. They may use more or less reasoning, which also makes them more or less expensive. They may be running all the time in the background trying to help you out. They may run only when you need them if you want to pay less. They may work super hard, spend tens of millions, hundreds of millions, someday billions of dollars on a single problem that's really valuable. But we see a future where intelligence is a utility like electricity or water, and people buy it from us on a meter and use it for whatever they want to use it for. The demand that we see for that seems like it's going to continue to just go like this. And if we don't have enough, we either can't sell it, or the price gets really high and it kind of goes to rich people, or society makes a bunch of sort of central planning decisions that I think almost always go badly about, we're going to use our limited compute supply for this and not that. So the best thing to me throughout all the history of capitalism, innovation, whatever you want.
So since 2016, I've been calling out Trump for what he is, which is a cult gopher who is not anti-globalist, but actually is a frontman for it. That may sound weird to all the people that have gone, oh no, he's against the globalists, but what he's doing is perfectly in line, as I said it would be before he came to office the second time, in line with the globalist global cult agenda. But by contrast, you've had endless, massively promoted, algorithmically promoted influencers who have been telling you, until recently, that you should vote for Trump because Trump, he's the savior, he's coming to sort out the bad guys. And the same people told you that Israel was wonderful. When some of us have been banned since the 1990s endlessly for saying that the people that control Israel are anything but bloody wonderful. Now suddenly the influencers that told you that and told you, oh, vote for Trump, are now against Trump and against Israel. So the one thing you can be confident about with Iconic is that you get a consistency of message. And why is that? It's because when you don't fall for political sides and you don't fall for religious sides, you have an open mind that is dispassionately looking at all the evidence and not just that which suits your belief system. And I've seen this week that one of the big influencers, Candace Owens, has been invited to what's called Russia's Davos in St. Petersburg, very much supported by Putin, and a guy who's known as Putin's brain, a bloke called Alexander Dugin. And what I'm seeing is people saying, oh, it's great, it's brave of Candace to go and try to build bridges with Russia. Now, does anyone think that Putin agrees to invite Candace Owens because it will build bridges? When Putin, like Zelensky in Ukraine, like Trump, like Netanyahu, like all these people around the world, like the leader of China, are ultimately controlled by the same global network to the same global end? No. It's because it suits the Russia-Putin agenda to have her there and question the American funding of Ukraine. And if you look dispassionately at all this stuff that's going on, you can see the common themes. How you can have, for instance, the to and fro between Iran and Trump. They're saying this, he's saying that. What's he said today? What have they said? But if you go back one step in the shadows, you can see that the outcome of what is happening suits perfectly this global cult agenda to dismantle, as Trump is doing in his lunacy, to dismantle the current world system. So the new one, based on AI human fusion and AI digital control, can take its place. Because what is happening in the Strait of Hormuz, its knock-on effects are having exactly that effect, dismantling the current order. And talking of the AI agenda, this is a story I saw today. Anthropic calls for pause of global AI development. Now, Anthropic is a big AI company that refused demands by the Trump military to give them unfettered access to the AI tools of Anthropic and was dumped by Trump as a result. But this story goes, Anthropic has warned of AI systems that become capable of teaching themselves to get smarter without human help. Hello, that was the idea all along. Artificial intelligence company Anthropic has suggested a global pause on building the most powerful AI systems as the latest models are beginning to show signs they could escape human control. I mean, the idea that they were ever supposed to be ultimately in human control is ridiculous. The control of a non-human force that's behind all this, for which the global cult is a vehicle, not an end in itself. And then, world's first AI-designed vaccine passes human trial. Researchers at the University of Cambridge have used artificial intelligence to create a fundamentally new type of vaccine. Sits back in amazement, can't believe it. This groundbreaking development is said to be the first instance where a vaccine's key component has been entirely designed by AI and tested on humans. The novel vaccine is aimed at providing protection against a wide range of coronaviruses, including COVID-19 variants. Oh, beam me up, Scotty. It's bloody mad down here. And animal-borne viruses that could potentially trigger future pandemics. So let me give you a scenario then, while our attention is taken in other directions, of an AI-created vaccine, fake vaccine, that is then imposed mandatorily upon the human population. What AI creates, therefore, is infused into basically all humans. That's the idea. Yeah. What could possibly go wrong? But they don't want you to focus on this, the real big picture of what's happening. They want you having your attention hijacked by endless different situations they put before you. And not least sides. So Iran is one of those things. And here's a story from this week. Iran-Russia signed $25 billion nuclear cooperation deal as Tehran presses ahead amid US talks. Iran and Russia have signed a sweeping $25 billion nuclear cooperation agreement to expand Tehran's civilian nuclear infrastructure, deepening strategic ties between the two countries, even as negotiations with the United States continue over efforts to curb the Islamist regime's nuclear activities. It's all theater. And one of the things you will have seen consistently through Iconic is that the plan, as I've been saying in my books since decades ago, has always been to move the center of global power from the West to the East, particularly to China, but also Russia, India, and others, but focused upon China. And that is exactly what's going on with the Russia-China association, alliance with Iran. And what is the outcome of what is happening if this continues, even if it's sorted very soon? Many consequences are going to follow. But of course, not only have you got a global society that is founded on supplies of energy and supplies for food of fertilizer, both of which are reduced because of what's happening with Iran in the Strait of Hormuz. But if you want to dismantle the society that currently exists so you can replace it with your next stage, then what do? You look at what that society is founded upon, cheap energy, for example, and you make sure the opposite happens. So you're basically dismantling that society. So we've already seen the price of almost everything start to go up and up and up because of what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz. And we are now moving towards a situation where even the very supply of it, even if you can afford it, the supply of it is going to be reduced and reduced the longer this goes on. America may see actual gasoline shortages by July the 4th, says this headline, and the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is running out. What the countries around the world have been doing is they've got these reserves, these energy reserves, these oil reserves, and they're supposed to be for a rainy day. But what they are doing to try to keep the price down is to use those and put them into the system to try to affect the price. And it's running out. Well, it's running out in so many places, but probably won't run out anything like as quick in China. China holds approximately 1.4 billion barrels of oil in its Strategic Petroleum Reserve, the largest in the world. And they've been building that up. Why? Because they knew this was coming. The US is now below 375 million barrels, as opposed to 1.4 billion in China. So 375 million barrels, as opposed to 1.4 billion in China, and is dropping by 10 to 18 million barrels per week, according to various analyses. Most experts estimate the reserve needs to hold 500 to 700 million barrels to remain effective in mitigating short-term energy disruptions in a country the size of the United States. And what you started to see, because it's a one-party state where the same network is in control, whoever's apparently in political power. During the Biden administration, you had these reserves being depleted and to keep the price down. And then after Trump's ridiculous attack, well, ridiculous, but not from the cult's point of view, attack on Iran, you've seen it now go into overdrive. And I ask you this question. What are the chances of two presidents? I mean, how many people are supposed to be in America? 350 million, something like that? That two presidents, one after the other, are both clearly suffering, while in office, from dementia. Biden and Trump. And if you've got someone suffering from dementia, and someone like Trump who's got this, what the psychologists call malignant narcissism, which means they'll double down rather than back down, hence what's happening with Iran, then just imagine how easy it is for those in the background working that mentality to control events. And if you look at COVID, what happened during COVID was that they enforced or tried to. Some of us didn't comply, but most did. They tried to impose lockdowns, working from home, curtailing movement of any kind almost, through mandatory means. You must not do it, it's against the law. But if you have a supply problem, ultimately, if this goes on, for the fuel you need to move, to go to work, then you get the same outcome, except you can't really protest against it in terms of refusing to comply with it, because you haven't got the petrol to put in your bloody car to do what they say you shouldn't do. So what we're seeing is the global economy being systematically dismantled. Why? Because then you can put in your new system, which is digital money controlled. Total control of finances of every individual.